Where do we go after death as pagans? Stick around. This is a difficult question because it's one that I don't truly have the answers to. But it's a question that I've contemplated deeply for many years. And the best thing that I can do is share with you my thoughts about it and tell you what I think most likely happens to us after death. So the first thing that could happen to us after death, this is the best scenario, and we'll just use me for an example. The best scenario for me after death is I ascend to the afterlife, and in that afterlife, I am forever in a state of blissfulness, comfort, peace, one with my gods and goddesses, one with the divine, and one with my lover. An eternal state of bliss and spiritual harmony. That's the best scenario. The second scenario for us is nothingness. Not a bad scenario to me. Not a bad one at all. That terrifies people. I know many people that are terrified of that thought, of there being nothingness after death. Just no difference between night and day. Just complete nothingness. But nothingness in death, you have to think about it like this way. You need to think about it like this. Me and you. I've been dead a lot longer than I've been alive. Because before I was conceived, before I came out of my mother's womb, I had no consciousness. I had no thoughts, no feelings, no memories, nothing. It was just nothingness. I was not a living being. So I couldn't feel anything because I was nothing. I was not a thing. So if that is what happens after death, that doesn't frighten me because I've already been dead before. Because I've already not existed before. And there wasn't anything bad that happened to me when I didn't exist. Because there was nothing to have anything bad happen to. I wasn't there to have bad or good things happen to, because I didn't exist. If that makes sense. I didn't word that properly, but you understand what I'm saying. I have not existed much longer than I have. So if after I'm done existing and I don't exist anymore, what's so bad about that? Right? The third scenario, and this applies strictly to pagans or non-monotheists. Let's say that the monotheistic hell exists and that the Abrahamic God, Yahweh, was right all along. And because we didn't worship him, despite being good people, if you are a good person, we're sent to eternal fire and torment. What a loving God. Well, then off we go. Off we go into the eternal fire, into the eternal pit, to suffer and suffer and suffer for eternity. That's fine. I'm not afraid of that either. Because if I was afraid of that, then that would mean that I'm okay with worshiping a dictator. Because our gods and our goddesses do not care if we worship them. They are not going to send us to a realm of eternal fire and torment if we don't call them by the name Yahweh, or Allah, or Jehovah, or Ahura Mazda. They don't care. They don't care. I believe that. What they do care about, though, is that you are kind to one another. That you don't bring harm upon people that don't deserve it. That you renounce hedonism and live in accordance with nature. That you gain wisdom. That you try to become the best version of yourself possible. And try to get others to become the best version of themselves possible as well. That you be a good human being. I do believe in divine punishment, but different kinds. I'll get into that at another point. The fourth and final scenario that comes to us after death, which is not necessarily a bad one per se. It kind of is, if you feel the way that I do, but I'll share my thoughts about that in another video. Is reincarnation. I am reincarnated as another man or woman with little to no memories of my previous life or lives. Only echoes of them, depending on how many times I've been reincarnated, or how old my soul is. But only echoes of those memories. Why? Why would you be reincarnated? Well, reincarnation could be a form of punishment in of itself. Now, I don't think we're reincarnated as bugs or anything like that, but I do think that we could be reincarnated as other people. Why would you be reincarnated? Well, in my opinion, it would be because you have failed to learn the lesson that the divine have beset upon you in this life that they gave you. That lesson, as I said, to seek wisdom, to live in accordance with nature, to renounce hedonism, to be kind to the world and all living things, to protect the innocent and uplift people's lives. That's why you would probably be reincarnated, so that you can come back and figure out that trying to be like a fruit tree is more beneficial for your fellow man and the world and the animals than trying to be like a dollar bill. Be more like a tree. Don't be like a dollar bill. Love the fruit tree. Don't love the dollar bill. Get the dollar bill because you need it, but don't let it consume you. A lot of bad things happen to make that dollar bill. More bad things happen to people who want to get money than to people who would rather just grow a fruit tree or grow trees in general. Growing a fruit tree never hurt anyone. Getting a dollar, that's hurt a lot of people. You know, sweatshops, wars, the choices of politicians. And they have no meaning behind them either. We just give them meaning. Those pieces of paper. It's too late now. They're worth more than anything else. When at their core they're really not, though. That's what's ass backwards about it. So I'm going to end off this brief video with one final thing that I want to say. I am henceforth today abandoning my hatred for monotheism, for Christianity, for Islam, for Judaism. I am going to regard that in the same way that I regard politicians and political parties and stuff like that, with total apathy, because it does me no good to have hatred in my heart for certain schools of belief, because men of those religions and women, most of them are too prideful to admit that they might be wrong. Most people are too prideful to admit that they might be wrong. I'm not. Please, in any scenario, in anything that that I've ever talked about or will talk about, I welcome criticism. I welcome people to prove me wrong. I do. Always. Because that's how you learn. That's the wisdom I'm talking about that the gods want us to obtain. There is nothing wrong with you calling the divine by the names that your ancestors called them. Nothing. There is something wrong, though, in my opinion, when your life revolves around only and exclusively cowling down. The gods love you and appreciate you when you pray to them. Do not listen to these neo-pagans that say the gods think people are weak who get on their hands and knees and pray to them. They don't feel that way. They appreciate it. They think it's beautiful, but they don't demand that of you. And they don't demand of you to call them by a certain name. They do not care. You need to look at the gods and the goddesses like they were divine mothers and divine fathers. Let's think of a really simple scenario here. You've just gotten off of work. You've had a long day. You're tired. And you live with your parents. Let's just say you live with your parents. It doesn't matter if you do or you don't. This is just an example. You get home after work, and your mother and your father are sitting in two recliner chairs in the living room. And you fall down on your hands and knees in front of them, crying out, begging.
Thank you so much for giving me life. Thank you so much. I love you forever and only, more than anything and everyone else. I love you more than this flawed world. I love you more than anything. Please don't send me to a realm of eternal torment after I leave the house.
If my son or daughter did that to me, or they came in, God's forbid, speaking in tongues, if they came into the house doing that to me, I would take my children to go and get therapy. I would say, child, I love you so much. And I'm so blessed and thankful that you're my child. But I'm not going to hurt you or let pain befall you or suffering befall you if you stop cowling down. I don't want you to cow down to me. I don't want you to lift your hands up and cry when thinking about me. I just want you to live and have a good life and be kind to others and be kind to the world. Love me, yeah, of course, because I love you. But you're not going anywhere bad. You're not going to go anywhere bad for not getting on your hands and knees and constantly thanking me and reminding me that you love me. I already know that you do. Now go live your fucking life and chill the fuck out. You fucking psycho. What's wrong with you? Little fucking obsessive. A God that would do that, that would demand that of you, is not a good God. That screams man-made to me. That screams dictator to me. That screams Kim Jong-il to me. Joseph Stalin. Mao Zedong. An insecure little boy that needs validation, that's not what the divine are like. They're not anything like that at all. They are absolute good. They are everything and nothing. They cannot be described. They cannot be fathomed. They cannot be understood. But the most fulfilling way to worship them, in my experience, is worshiping them in a way exactly like or similar to that your ancestors did. Because when you're closer to your ethnic identity, you're closer to nature. A brown bear doesn't go up into the Arctic and pretend to be a polar bear. A brown bear is in his forest, living like a brown bear should. A Celto-Germanic man, calling his gods and goddesses by the Celtic and Germanic names, living in the northern evergreen forests of Europe, just as his ancient ancestors did. That's getting closer to nature. When you get closer to nature, you get closer to the gods. Thank you for watching.